Hello, I'm Rose Stanley, and this is WorkSpan TV. Today we're going to be talking to Kate Lister about the impact of workplace flexibility. Kate, your organization is really known for the Workplace Savings Calculator. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, we've kind of evolved over the years. We started out looking at specifically telework. It became apparent that all of those savings, all of those benefits that were associated with telework were also associated with workplace flexibility. I shouldn't say all of them. Many of them were also workplace flexibility. And we came up with an actual calculator where you can put in your numbers. You know, I've got 4,000 people in the workforce, and some are going to be doing part-time work, and some are going to be teleworking, and some are going to be doing flexible hours. And it'll then calculate what the bottom line impact of that is across productivity, flexibility, turnover, absenteeism, sustainability issues in terms of greenhouse gases and air quality, and the benefits for the employees. What does it mean to their hourly wage or their annual wage? And there's a very real impact.
In human resources, when they're trying to really sell flexibility to the C-suite, they're really looking for information to be able to show that there is going to be a return back to the organization. So you just mentioned several of the areas that are probably really important to them, but who might they want to include within the organization to help gather some of this information that you use in this tool?
So you've got IT involved, you're driving some of these initiatives, you've got some of it's coming out of HR, you've got sustainability driving it, you've got real estate driving it, and that's sort of been the big area over the last few years because that's the biggest bang for your buck, and it's the easiest thing to prove. Hey, we had a big building, now we have a small building. You know, that's easy. And certainly you should have finance involved because, you know, if they're not involved, it's not going to happen. Saving money has been, for about the last 3 or 4 years, the top driver. And when you talk saving money, now you're talking in the language of the C-suite. Once you sell it to the C-suite, the battle's not over. You have to sell it down the line. You have to sell it to the middle managers because if they don't support it, they're not going to allow their people to do it. And you even have to support it down to the employee level. And there's a business case to be made at all of those. You've got to show them the WIFMs, the what's in it for me. And that's different for the C-suite, and it's different for the middle manager, and it's different for the employees, and it's different for the board even. And everybody has to know what's in it for me if it's going to work. There's so many companies that have these wonderful, on paper, flexibility initiatives that nobody's using because the culture says it's not a good thing.
Kate, you had mentioned just now about selling it down within the organization, and we really are seeing that some of the most challenging areas is getting it to those middle managers and those supervisors. So how would your calculator and how, with what you do at your organization, help those middle managers really understand the benefit that it gives not only to the employees, because they are looking for some work-life balance, but to the organization and to those managers who are responsible for a return to their own organizations?
You know, maybe a company is having problems hiring good people, and that's already started to come back around. You know, it was the driver a few years ago, but particularly talent shortages. It has to lead from the pain point, and you know, it may be sustainability, and then you go in with that, you calculate what the sustainability benefits are going to be. And it also has to fall out of the manager's goals. And so this is a whole other topic of results-based management. But assuming we've got a good company where the organization's goals have flowed down to the middle managers now are responsible for creating a certain level of production. They can't do that without people. I think the other thing that the recession has taught business is that it's people that matters, not assets, not hard assets. You can get rid of buildings. You can't run a business without the people. So, you know, maybe it's absenteeism. Call centers are huge problems with turnover and absenteeism. I mean, some have to completely shut down because after you're in a market for about 3 years, everybody that would have worked for you already has and quit. I mean, in call centers, they say 100% turnover gives you bragging rights. And yet, if you go in with a flexible environment, and whether that's shared responsibility so that two people can, if I can't make it, you can, because it tends to be a lot of single mothers that take those jobs. I mean, it's a very low-level job. And so a little bit of flexibility, including working at home. In fact, you may not realize this, but the next time you use the drive-through at a fast food restaurant, you may be talking to somebody who's working at home. Interestingly, I talked to the folks, the head of HR from MySQL, who at the time was the largest open source database company in the country. They had employees on every continent except Antarctica, and no one had a traditional office. And she said, we could have never built the programs that we built unless we could go out to the world and hire the best people for the job. So, you know, that was what they needed. But once you have that and you understand all of these other metrics involved, and you know, I just named a few of them in terms of absenteeism, turnover, productivity, real estate, but there's healthcare. Companies have proven that they can significantly reduce their healthcare costs by reducing stress. And the way you reduce stress is by giving people flexibility, giving them some control over their lives.
I'm assuming, but correct me if I'm wrong, that the calculator really works for any size of organization.
And you can put your numbers in, I don't care whether it's 100 people or 1,000 people or 50,000 people. At the end of the day, there's a bottom line benefit.
Kate, in closing, what do you think telework and flexible work arrangements are going to look like in, say, 5 or 10 years?
It's growing. It's moving. Everybody wants this to move quickly, but it can't. It's a huge cultural issue. We're still in the mentality of sweatshops and typing pools in a lot of management relationships. We need to learn to manage by results. You need to get rid of all that stuff that happens in offices, that somebody comes in at 10 in the morning instead of 9. Oh, sleep in, did you? Or leaves at 4 o'clock. Oh, you know, working on your tan, working on your golf game. All that kind of stuff is just counter to creating a culture that accepts flexibility as just part of the way things are. I think some of it's going to change as the generations come through. The retirement of the baby boomers, they're wanting flexibility, and companies are realizing as a result of the fact that there aren't enough people coming into the workforce to replace the people that are going out of the workforce, that they need to be doing things to retain those older workers, and flexibility is the key to retaining them too. And so there's so many factors. You know, I think that in the past there's been a lot of transient things that have sort of flared up an interest in this, but I think there's enough, it's got enough momentum now behind it, and there's enough good companies with global best practices that have really shown that it can work, that they just can't ignore it anymore.
Thank you, Kate, for joining us today and for sharing your insights on telework and flexible work arrangements and your workplace savings calculator. For WorkSpan TV, I'm Rose Stanley.